ridiculous numbers. And I appreciate if you go to the site and sign up for the petition. Also, one Japanese farmer already suicided. He worked hard to make that organic vegetables in his farm. He's farming for 20 years, and that nuclear accident destroyed it. And many workers now battling in the Fukushima plants are not employees of TEPCO.
Right.
All other temporary workers are working hard.
Demonstration to stop the nuclear power, to stop the cover-up by the TEPCO company, Tokyo Electric Power Company, and to stop the continued contamination of the people in Fukushima, but also the people of the world who are being contaminated by these plants. My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the Labor Video Project and United Public Workers for Action. And this man-made accident in Fukushima plant is something that people have known about for years. This is not a new thing in Japan. The development of nuclear power, which was supported by General Electric, which was supported by these corporations, was set up to make profits for these companies. It wasn't set up to protect the people of Japan. And now this disaster has contaminated the people of the Fukushima area and also contaminated the people of the world. Unfortunately, the U.S. government and these corporations are involved in the cover-up. There's no reports on radioactivity increases in Northern California and San Francisco. The government is not telling the truth about what is happening in Fukushima because they want to build more plants right here in the United States. And we say no more nuclear plants. We are going to defend the people of Japan, the farmers of Japan, the children of Japan who are forced to keep in their homes because of what's going on. It's going to be Ruth. She's from the Raging Granny.
We're here at Diablo Canyon last month trying to shut that plant down. I have a song from the Raging Grannies. It's going to take me about a minute and a half to sing this, and this is our message. We are anti-nuke environmentalists. We are anti-nuke environmentalists. We'll protect our air and water. You can't lead us to the slaughter because we're anti-nuke environmentalists. We are saddened by the suffering in Japan. With our fellow activists there now we stand. We'll protect our air and water. You can't lead us to the slaughter. We will fight together with friends in Japan.
Good morning and thank you everybody. I'd like to send my condolences to the Japanese people, the farmers, the citizens, and the people all around the world. I'd like to say it's time for us as people to reclaim what nature has provided for us. I don't understand who gave the corporations the authority to co-opt our resources. It's time for us to make the demand. If you look right now what's happening right now today, you can tell, I'll give you an example, like May Day happened. There were thousands of millions of people in this nation and around the world. What happened was they killed Osama bin Laden, allegedly. That was just for them to try to hoodwink and bamboozle us because they're nervous. They know that the political structure that's in place of the two parties, that the working class people are waking up. And once we wake up from our domestication of 65 years of sleeping, we will demand what's rightfully ours. It's time for not only trade unionists, but trade unionists to not have a narrow view and look at all working people. 90% of the people working are not organized. We need to take on everybody's issues. On July 1st, when the California budget will be implemented, it's going to be 4 years retroactive. If you know somebody or you have been on WIC, CalWorks, Medi-Cal, it's going to be 4 years retroactive. That means people are not going to have a safety net. We pay for the safety net. The electronics, technology, and globalization is replacing our labor. So they don't need our labor anymore. So are we going to be the owners of this new technology and prosperity, or is it going to be the corporations? And I ask today, in solidarity with everybody here, that that you commit to bringing one other person to the next event. And then my last message is to the retirees. Retirees, you're probably sitting back and enjoying your pension. But let me explain to you the nature of the beast from the being in the belly of the beast. When he's done with us, don't think your pension is safe. Come out and join us. In solidarity, in unity, human by birth, union by choice. It's up to us. And I'm going to show you. If you're looking for somebody to save you, this is where you need to look. In the mirror.
Your plans now. Stop the cover-up of TEPCO. Stop the cover-up of TEPCO. Stop the cover-up of TEPCO.
Here, and my heart goes out to the people of Japan and the people of the world and the children who are yet to be born. And I just want to read here a resolution that was passed by the Green Party of California at their plenary at the General Assembly on April 30th. To promote the safety of all Californians and our fellow living beings and to protect our natural environment, the Green Party of California calls for the immediate closure and decommissioning of the state's nuclear power plants at Diablo Canyon and San Onofre. The Fukushima nuclear power plant catastrophe in Japan is a wake-up call for all Californians that this energy source is neither safe nor sustainable. The entire nuclear power life cycle is fraught with inherent risk and is multiplied by the possibility of human error. If we have learned anything from the earthquake and tsunami in Japan, it's that Mother Nature can act on a scale and a manner that we cannot always contemplate or prepare for. Both Diablo Canyon and San Onofre are built near earthquake faults and next to the ocean. This presents unacceptable risk. Instead of pursuing dangerous energy paths like nuclear and fossil fuels that have already been shown to lead to large-scale environmental disaster, the Green Party stands for more environmentally sound energy paths based upon efficiency, conservation, and the distributed generation of renewable energy sources like solar and wind. The Green Party opposes the renewal of the operating licenses of both plants and calls upon Governor Brown and the legislature to take the necessary steps to bring about the immediate closure and decommissioning of the state's nuclear power plants at Diablo Canyon and San Onofre. And I would like to add personally, I wear many hats. I'm a Green Party member. I was a Green Party candidate. I'm also a member of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. But I'm also a human being and I'm a mother. And when I was in the same state of pregnancy that this wonderful woman here from France is in today, I edited a book called The Invisible Nuclear War, the massive government cover-up, the health effects of radiation, and the continuing battle being waged by the nuclear powers against all life on Earth. And this is a war, against humanity, against life, and it is for profit. And this industry is so dangerous, and they will lie and cover up the information, the data, the science, and it's up to us really to stop this whole industry. And I think one of the things that we have to do is monitor the air and the water and the food, because they're lying to us. They're raising the acceptable levels of radiation. There is no safe limit. What low-level radiation does is simply accelerate the aging process. And it also causes birth defects, cancer, we know that. But what it really does is it attacks everyone's ability to live. And the people who are most affected are the unborn, the young, the old, the people who have compromised immune systems. And they are shutting down their monitoring systems. They're not looking for the information which would increase their liability. There isn't enough money on the planet to pay people for all the injuries caused by nuclear radiation. It would wipe out the whole nuclear industry. If we didn't have this industry so heavily subsidized, it wouldn't exist. And they wouldn't even have have been able to have it exist either if the corporate media wasn't in their pockets and selling it through blatant, huge, tremendous lies. So what we need to do is to get the truth out to people and to become empowered and to hold them accountable and to stop them.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all the people's support towards the Japanese people who are harmed by the tsunami, Jishin, plus nuclear power disaster. I really thank you. From the teenagers making cookie bake sale and big corporations giving huge donations towards them. Only the problem is they don't necessarily go to the people who really needs them. That's the same government behavior where we don't really know where they go. But I really appreciate everyone's support. Thank you so much. And today I'd like to pass this petition from few organizations from Japan. Unfortunately, we couldn't have an English version, so I just read the main part that the matching translated, right? So whatever happens in Japan affect here, whatever happens here affect all over the world. So let's all get together and work for only the difference between the people is, do we just ignore or wake up and act together? So let's keep doing it because the nuclear hazard has no border between generations. It's going to go for generations and generations to come. So I really thank to you.
The next speaker is Tom Lacey, and Tom is the chair of the Peace and Freedom Party in San Francisco. Peace and Freedom Party is the longest party in California that opposed nuclear power.
We're talking about a technology that is so dangerous. Nuclear power is an industry where these huge diabolic machines are used basically to boil water. It's a very, very dangerous and expensive way of boiling water. But that's what it boils down to. There is an article which you should read in the current issue of The Progressive by Harvey Wasserman. I'm going to tell you a little story about Harvey. Back in 1976, the Peace and Freedom Party was part of a national alliance called the People's Party. And we sponsored a speaking tour by members of a small collective in Montague, Vermont. And in that collective were Harvey Wasserman and Sam Lovejoy. When Sam Lovejoy made a movie called Lovejoy's Nuclear War and proceeded to do a tour of the U.S. explaining exactly how dangerous this is and what he decided on his own initiative to do about it when they started building a plant in Vermont. Sam went in the middle of the night and pulled the guide wire towers down before they could build the plant, and then promptly turned himself into the police. There's a big celebrity trial about this. In 1976, a movie called No Nukes was made. Sam Lovejoy was in it. It was the tail end of his speaking tour that the Peace and Freedom Party was proud to be a part of. I met Sam, I met Harvey, and several other members of that collective. They were the founders of the Clamshell Alliance. So there's a history. And in fact, in Harvey's article in The Progressive, he shows how there is not, this isn't the first wake-up call. We've had about a dozen of them, starting in Canada with a military plant before there were any private nuclear power plants or public nuclear power plants. There was a military experimental plant. There was a power surge. Jimmy Carter was one of those sent in from the Navy. He was still working for the Navy as a jumper to go in and check out the situation and read the levels of radioactivity. Then there was another one about 10 years later in Idaho, another one in Monroe, Michigan. They thought they were going to have to evacuate Detroit, and leading up to 3 Mile Island, and then Chernobyl. Now, Chernobyl is interesting because they now know what actually happened there was a fission reaction, just like in Nagasaki and Japan, only releasing many, many, many times more radiation than either Nagasaki or Hiroshima. So this is a technology, this is a very dangerous technology. There is no excuse for it, and we cannot get any private insurance. We cannot, the only way it exists is by public subsidy, our tax dollars. Other than that, if it weren't for that, there would be no way this industry would be profitable at all. So when we say shut them down, we mean shut them down and make sure they're buried. They're having problems with the Chernobyl reactor right now. It's beginning to leak again. So Harvey also points out in this article that the level of background radiation, so-called natural radiation, has increased significantly after Chernobyl. So all future measurements of the amount of radioactivity and how harmful it is are based on background levels, which have been accelerating. Every time there's an accident, it accelerates. So if we happen to have a 9.0 earthquake in California, it would mean, because of the two plants at San Onofre and Diablo Canyon, the evacuation of all of Los Angeles and San Diego and parts of the Bay Area. This would be an economic debacle of unprecedented proportions. So, not to mention an ecological and human disaster. So, the time is now to decommission these plants. There's $30 billion in the 2012 budget, Obama's budget, which is targeted for new nuclear plants. We don't need any new nuclear plants. What we need to do is shut down the existing ones. The storage and shipping of uranium, the transportation, all produce significant amounts of greenhouse gases. Not to mention, the dangers of running the plant. So let's put a stop to this right now.
We have with us Michael Wong, the Veterans for Peace, to talk.
I just want to look briefly at the history. On April 26, in 1986, Chernobyl nuclear plant had a series of explosions, resulted in 31 direct deaths among the heroic workers who battled the disaster, 64 deaths directly from radiation, and following years of estimates of related cancer deaths, according to the United Nations, there were 30 to 60,000 deaths from cancer related to the radiation. But according to a study by Greenpeace, there were 200,000. There were 350,000 people who were displaced and evacuated from the site, and a radioactive plume drifted over large parts of Western Europe and the Western Soviet Union. The long-term effects of this radiation is still being debated. In 1979, 3 Mile Island suffered a core meltdown in Unit 2. 40,000 gallons of radioactive wastewater were released directly into a nearby river. 140,000 people were evacuated. The reactor was permanently closed, and cleanup costs were over $1 billion. Government studies afterwards reported that no harm was done and everything was just fine and dandy. But private reports and anecdotal evidence showed a spike in infant mortality in the downwind communities 2 years after the accident, and a plague of death and disease among the area's wild animals and farm livestock, including a sharp fall in the reproductive rate of the region's horses and cows. Then we have the Fukushima nuclear power plant. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it because everybody knows about it, but I just want to point out that trace amounts of radiation from the accident have been found around the world, including New York State, Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, California, Montreal, and Australia. So it's not over yet. If the three most advanced nuclear powers in the world could not safely handle nuclear power, then no one can. This is a worldwide danger. It's a worldwide threat, and all human beings have a stake in this. We stand with the Japanese people, the Japanese anti-nuclear movement, and with activists around the world against nuclear power. In particular, let me point out that in California we have the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant. It's just 242 miles south of here. And guess who operates that plant? Pacific Gas and Electric. The same people that could not handle a simple gas pipeline safely in San Bruno. And they're operating a nuclear power plant. Let me ask you this. What scares you more? Terrorists derailing a train or PG&E operating a nuclear power plant on an earthquake zone right next to the ocean?
Easy answer. Easy answer.
Let's put it this way. With PG&E, we don't need terrorists. I can make a few comments about depleted uranium. For people who don't know, depleted uranium is like the aftermath of the nuclear process, and in combination with other materials, it forms a harder substance than normal steel, and is therefore used in armor in a lot of our tanks and other armored vehicles. It's also used in our various munitions, like our armor-piercing shells and other types of shells and explosives to penetrate enemy armor. That's the military advantage of it. The disadvantage of it is that when it hits an enemy armor and explodes, radioactive dust is spread out from the explosion. Likewise, if you have an armored vehicle, if that armored vehicle should be hit by an enemy armor-piercing shell, and that shell succeeds in actually penetrating the armor, then likewise the armor throws off a cloud of radioactive dust. That radioactive dust is the prime suspect behind Gulf War syndrome. Anybody who has followed that in the news back during in the aftermath of the Gulf War, the effects are, cancer, problems with reproduction, a lot of the same things that I noted in the after effects of nuclear disasters. And those weapons are now being used in Iraq and Afghanistan. And because of the ongoing war there, we hardly even know the accurate count of Iraqi dead, let alone who was hurt by radioactivity from depleted uranium. So with all the chaos there, we don't have accurate studies, but based on what we saw in Gulf War I, we can expect that there's going to be a massive effect of depleted uranium among the civilian population and among combatants on all sides.
ありがとうございます。チラシを受け取ってくれた人、日本の皆さん、それから海を隔てたところにいるいろんな人たち、ありがとうございます。So thanks for all of you people who have been here, who came here, who know about here, who are aware of here, who are here and who are outside, whether you're in Japan, Philippines, Tonga, Guam, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, Iceland, wherever you are, thanks for coming and thanks for being with us. And this is such an important thing, and I can't even say more than what I can say right now. これ以上何を言ったらいいのかちょっと急なんでわかんないんですけど、there are folks who made these beautiful artworks to help you bring out this protest and awareness outside of this protest, so we can do a lot of 拡散希望, spreading a lot of hopes and spreading a lot of willingness. Japanese government and TEPCO, PG&E, Arriva, and everywhere that is interested in corporation and profit are trying to, telling us this is all rumor, but people have been dying, and people say so there are only few people who have contaminated. Only they talk about numbers, but it's a life of our loved ones. So we have to be really watch out, and the protest is not the only way to promote this, so we have to stop just being shy and talk to each other, have picnic, have a karaoke, or have drink with your friends and talk about this, whether if you plan on activism or whether you just want to talk and if you want to relieve your fear, that's okay. If you say I'm going to panic, that's fine, because it's scary enough.
I was in Chernobyl protests back in 1989 in Japan. I was a little kid. And I was like 8 and I didn't know what the heck was going on. And after that, in Musashino Kogyo Daigaku, it's a university that was like 5 minutes away from my project housing, that had like a leak. They didn't tell. 40 people protested and I was one of them. And I've been so mad. My relatives lives near the Tokai village in Ibaraki. So this is very important. I don't know what else to say. Fishermen, workers, and especially fleeter people, フリーターの人たち、それから everybody who has like been hikikomori or who are kind of marginalized, you know, non-Japanese people or people who don't have citizenships in Japan, military persons, or people who are incarcerated. We all have to stand up and we all have to get, you know, talk to each other and, you know, bring your issues around and up and not down.
Consulate, and we're concerned for the people of Japan, and that every inch of Japan is so precious, and now a huge chunk of it is off limits to human life. It's outrageous. Here in California, supposedly we don't have enough money to care for our people right now, and they're ready to expose us to levels of radiation. They said in the 15 minutes that they covered this initially that there's a 1 in a million chance that it would affect us. Well, hello, on the west coast of the United States there's 40 million people. So, you know, right there their own words indict them. And you look at the company that built the Fukushima plant, General Electric, who ended up not paying any taxes for the last few years. And yet, we don't have enough money to care for people in the city. We have to cut back on home care, on health care. My union has workers all over the state in hospitals. This is an outrage. In Vermont right now, another General Electric plant, the people of that state have said no to the Yankee plant. And they're trying to impose it through the federal government and override what the people of that state have decided for themselves. It's another outrage. And we stand with the people of Japan, we stand with the people of Vermont, and we stand with the people of California and the West Coast and our health needs. Thank you.
I'm with Bay Area Freedom Socialist Party and Radical Women, and we're here today in solidarity of this important effort to stop nuclear power, but also to recognize the horrible impact that's happened to the Japanese people, and our solidarity is very much with them today. In the Freedom Socialist Party, we're working with Doro Chiba in Japan, that's the railway workers union, and I just thought I'd share another aspect of one of my comrades who lives outside of Tokyo. He said that the union, especially the railway union, they're organizing a lot to support people who have lost their jobs, who have lost their homes and livelihoods. And people are turning to the unions because the government is failing them and not prioritizing human needs at this critical time. So it just shows to me that the working class working together and staying strong, that we can take care of ourselves. We don't need corporations and big businesses and corrupt governments to tell us what to do. We can organize and provide for schools, education, healthcare, and a safe environment for all. So this is to me what working class solidarity means, and I wish everyone here to continue the struggle, and it's wonderful to be here with you, and I look forward to future organizing.
I'm glad to see you out here. I'm glad to see that some people are standing up in this country protesting this catastrophe going on in Japan, at Fukushima, and protesting our own nuclear power plants at Diablo Canyon and San Onofre. So I'm very happy that you're out here, and let's go out and reach one and teach one. In other words, each one of us got to go out and talk to one or two other people. At the next protest, we bring 2 or 3 of your family or friends. Any movement has got to start someplace, and this is great that we're out here. I wanted to mention one thing we can do to be able to fight the power of the nuclear industry and the nuclear weapons. We have to arm ourselves with knowledge, with information. If we know more, we can be more effective in reaching more people. And I would like everybody to check out a report by the New York State Academy of Scientists. The New York State Academy of Scientists has just come out with a paperback of a study of Chernobyl where they translated the Russian and Ukrainian documents about the treatment of the people of Ukraine and Belarus and Russia from the radiation and the deaths at Chernobyl. There's been a gigantic cover-up of Chernobyl. And this report talks about 1 million people in that part of the world, Ukraine, Belarusia, Ukraine, since Chernobyl. Since Chernobyl, 1 million people have died from cancer and tumors. And they're not talking about this in this country because it's all part of the international corporate cover-up of this dangerous technology. That paperback and read it and get informed and tell your neighbors, because the corporate media is not. And one place you can hear an interview with some of the scientists who were part of this report is go up on KPFA's website, and they interview these scientists for an hour on a program called Your Own Health and Fitness. So go up to the KPFA website, look for the archives, up in the top left of the homepage, and pull down Your Own Health and Fitness and hear the scientists who were part of this report. We have to be more informed activists because our media is dumbing us down. We don't know enough in this country, and we're being led around like sheep because of the corporations saying, oh, we tested here, there's no danger here. If the radiation levels is very tiny, don't worry, don't worry. Well, we need to get informed and tell our neighbors that we should be worried, and if our neighbors and our family and our friends know about this, we'll have hundreds of people out here next time. So getting information, getting knowledge out is very important, okay? So like that little girl that told her dad or her friend, protest the power, fight the power, but to fight the power, we have to be informed. We have to do our homework. We can't just only have a slogan, we have to be informed. And beside the chant, fight the power, protest, fight the power, I also say a slogan I heard in anti-nuclear time, hell no, we won't glow. Hell no, we won't glow. Hell no, we won't glow. Hell no, we won't glow.
Konnichiwa. Hajimemashite. My name is Gregory Vickery. I'm a board member of National Organization Peace of the Action. My good friend and working colleague Cindy Sheehan sends her love and support and endorsement. Peace of the Action endorses this action. Corporations and governments are complicit in killing us. We know this. Nuclear power is a prime example of that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Yes.
Nuclear power should have been eradicated years ago. We have the empirical evidence, we have the death and destruction, and we have the science behind that. Unfortunately, the powers that be don't agree. Here in the United States, we have a president, Barack Obama, pursuing a policy of continued corporate welfare to the nuclear power industry. To that I say, hell no.
Hell no.
We have the world's most renowned climate scientist, Dr. James Hansen, promoting nuclear power. To that I say, hell no. Hell no. We have several prominent large environmental groups who promote nuclear power as an alternative to foreign oil. To that I say, hell no.
Hell no.
We have options. We can throw gears into the machine. We can fight the power. We can stand up for rights, liberties, and the actual pursuit of happiness. We can stand in solidarity with the people of Japan and shut these plants down. But we have to be loud, we have to be bold, and we have to be willing to take drastic action. We have to throw gears into the machine. Do you agree?
Yes.
protested with me and Cindy Sheehan last July 4th in Washington, D.C. at a Peace of the Action event. I have her on video with her own cheer, and it goes, protest, protest, fight the power, fight the power. And before I came out here this week, she asked me to tell you all to do this cheer. So let's do it 3 times. You got it? Ready? 1,